So, welcome back to another episode of Lucas Tigers and Bronzo Mai, your weekly fractional report before opening bell, brought to you by Collectable, who, if you guys haven't checked out, check out their desktop version of a trading platform. How you doing, Cade?
It's more like, hey, it's coming soon. They don't really promote it. That's pretty awesome. You like using it, you like the desktop one. It's not even like fully functional yet.
You feel like a trader.
You feel like a trader on it. Exactly. You feel like a trader on it. So what's new?
Let's see. Click.
Not fractional, but it kind of leads into fractional, right? I love going to shows. I spent, 2 days here at shows, over the weekend. I know there's shows all across the country here. We saw Eddie from InvestorCard, who we had on this week. He was down at our show in Florida, not far from you. Dwight Gooden there, and then Dwight Gooden up here today. He was posting about it. It's pretty cool. Lawrence Taylor signing at the East Coast National this weekend. What was cool about it is I've been to the show many, many times. I brought my son to it many, many times. And the last couple of shows, remember one, there was a storm and it was like postponed for a day. You were here for the city, you threw an impromptu like trade show day, at Bleecker
during the storm.
And I remember being the day of the show there with Mark Zablo and, a bunch of other folks who are, in the hobby now and kind of shaping the way the hobby is, sort of like the Mint Collective, trying to shape live events and you name it, every one of those things that happens, like Collectible put on Mint Collective, it kind of changes the landscape of what people expect from shows. And I remember being at this Hofstra show with Mark and with other people, and saying, it's still an old show. I'm an old man, so I'm able to say that, but it's not something that, that has the bells, the whistles, you name it. It doesn't have a trade area. It doesn't have any place for kids. It's a lot of, there's autographs, and people, trust me, it brings out the crowds. The lines for people to sign, we're in Long Island, and the Islanders are huge. Islanders, Lundqvist, the Islanders goalie had the longest line without even, it's not even close. And Lawrence Taylor, if Ian was here, he's outside playing basketball, but if he was here, he would tell you what Lawrence Taylor would not sign. He has a specific, what do they call it, inscription that, you pay extra for. His thing right on the website says he will not sign bad MF. Lawrence Taylor, bad MF. So Ian thought that was the funniest thing. He was walking around the show. I hope you guys know Lawrence Taylor won't sign bad MF. But he wasn't saying MF. He was saying the whole thing. But, it brings out the autographs. But back to the point. The point is, for the first time ever, the operators of the show, who host, a weekly show, you name it, they did a trade night on Saturday. It's, it was a cool thing. I don't think they charged any money. It wasn't like fee to entry. As long as you had, your hand stamped and you bought a ticket to the show. I don't think they made any extra money on it. The dealers were able to come and trade, but it was filled with kids. And that's a cool thing, right? That's a cool thing. And I think part of that, I'll give Collectible some credit, give, the Mint Collective. People see that. People see that there's excitement being generated by these, new type of shows with new things happening. And I love seeing people take care of kids. And those kids who were there last night, they were all there today. They were all there doing the whole, like, hey, I'm going to take this card and I'm going to turn it into this and I'm going to buy it for this. I saw one kid go to one table and bought a Tatis Heritage, out of $1 box. And he literally walked to the next table and was like, will you pay this $5 for this? Will you buy this for $5? And the guy's like looking at it, like they're trying to do, their flipping thing. And before we get into the cards and stuff, it's feel good, right? Because, why I talk about this is because that willingness to adapt, the willingness to kind of move towards the next generation, the willingness to do something different than you've done it for so many years, that's what's going to bring in new blood. That's what's going to bring in new money. That's what will drive Fractional down the roads. We'll drive shows down the roads. We'll drive the auctions, drive the cards. It'll drive the whole hobby. So I love seeing that stuff. And just a quick shout, just on the same vein, with all the kids doing their whole like, oh, I'm going to trade up. I'm going to do this. And we stopped over at Black Jaded Wolf. Awesome team they have there. You saw they posted, made fun of me. They had Ian. If you haven't seen it yet, they had him holding John Morant cards as I was, making fun of John Morant all day. So
were those Ian's pickups? Did he
No,
get that?
no. When I wasn't looking, I was talking, and they gave him the cards and snapped a picture and said, "Here you go." And I'm like, "Oh, you guys are doing me dirty," because people are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, you're bringing the job prices down while Ian's scooping up the bargains." But anyway,
Well, there's two cages out there. There's the troll cage, which is
Yes.
sometimes you just like to have a little bit of fun. That's, I would
Yeah,
say,
have some fun.
5%. And 95% cage is collector, but troll cage is a
Yes.
big personality. He'll
Yes,
post
it's-
about Ja like 6 times
Yeah,
when a normal
2
human might
times.
post once.
But listen, the trolling, it really does come from a place of fear, a place of I'm looking out for you guys, because I mean there's a Ja Morant in golden auctions right now for $250,000. You know what I mean? Like there are Ja cards that are houses, and Ja hasn't done anything. So
You can't
it
live
really,
inside of Ja Morant. You
yeah.
can't
I
live.
mean it's so anyway.
He has no utility.
Black Sharon, Black Jaded Wolf. They gave Ian a card. Like a Pete Alonso Bowman first PSA 10 for well below what it was, what the value of it is. And I tried to give him more money for it, and they're like, no, now go flip it. Now you go do your thing. And he traded it for like a purple ice RJ Barrett PSA 10, and they flipped that to a dealer for an Acuna, Topps rookie PSA 10. So he left with that. That's like a $100 card. So he was doing his whole flipping and stuff. Forget about the flipping and what he did, more of what that dealer, what Black Jaded Wolf did, because now he's got a story and he can tell his kids, his friends in school when he goes this week, hey, I got this card. I went to this table and it was $50 and went to $65 or $70 and I turned that into this $100. And maybe more kids will be like, I will go to the show next time. I'll go to the trade night next time. We'll tell their parents to go. It's a cool
That's
thing.
what I'm picking up on. Because I think you were at this show 6-7 months ago.
Yep.
And I think you came back, same episode, and we're like, there was no trade night. It's like the dealers do things the old way. They're not picking up and not doing things with the times.
100%.
So it's nice to see innovation. Is that the word?
Yeah. A step into the future. Innovation is right. System scale.
How about this for innovation? Bagels to the wax, Vadim, trading cards for food, for salads, sandwiches, because he has a cafe right nearby.
I got a sandwich.
Let's go.
I mean, I got a sandwich. I saw Vadim. He brought some food for us. I'm like,
I saw he was
like,
bringing
it's for friends.
Salads. You didn't choose the salad option.
I didn't have a salad.
Salads are always tomorrow.
No, I didn't have a salad. I had.
Salads are not good for a show anyway.
It was like a wrap with like
some.
Yeah, we have like a fork. It had like feta cheese. Even the wrap was kind of like uncomfortable, to kind of eat during the show, And Mrs. Cage made her first card show appearance, which is that's an important thing. And she was introduced as Mrs. Cage to everyone, which I'm sure she hated, but it is what it is.
I would argue that the wives of the people in the hobby are the quickest way that the hobby could collapse. If
professionally, I'm always known as that's her husband. She's always ahead of me in the professional world. So in the card show, I get to be okay. That's Mrs. Cage. It is what it is.
It's the same way with us, though, Cage. That's your demeanor. You always build people up.
I try, but everybody wants to meet you, man. Doesn't matter where we go. Everybody wants to meet you. We had a really nice time. An Uber collector. You saw some pictures with him. Basketball card guy. Even Shy Way with the "Make Kanye Great Again" T-shirt, which is just amazing. I mean, there were just so many hobby personalities, and it's cool. I saw Prism God and Wiz. They were there. They set up a table. They were making deals. Boston Authentics was there setting up. They always have a tough time in New York because they're Boston based. But it was a lot of fun.
If I were to kind of like analyze the hobby as a team, I think we got all the pieces. We got the personality, we got the prospects, the kids that are on the come up, flipping, having fun. We've got the personalities, we've got the businesses. I think it's just about cooperating, working together, realizing that we all kind of need each other for this whole thing to be successful versus trying to take bites out of each other, that kind of stuff. I don't know. Maybe that's just the way it's always been, but I wonder if there's that lesson too. If the dealers could have learned not to take bites out of each other, maybe the grown men also can learn.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I will say this. Some of the kids are sharks. I mean, some of the kids are sharks too. It's not just the grown men. It's not, so at the trade night, Ian moved a Volpe, Anthony Volpe Prism out of 49 SGC 10 auto to a kid, $100. And the kid took it, moved 5 feet away to the next table, and offered it to Uber Collector for $150. And I saw him offer it to him, and I texted him. I said, Ian just sold that for $100. So I hear him say to the kid, I'll make you an offer, 101. And he's like, what? Why 101? It's because I know you just got it for 100. But think of like I don't want to say the gumption. Is that a good word? Like, think this was probably 12, right? He was definitely older than Ian, but probably 12, maybe 13 years old. And he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy this for 100. I'm going to walk 5 feet, and I'm going to sell it for 150. Think about that for a second. It's pretty fun. Pretty interesting. Look at you. You're like, I like this kid. You're like, I like this kid.
It raises a lot of existential questions. Like, how is that different from what we always do? Because we hold it for like 3 weeks, or because we go from Massachusetts.
It's not different
in New York.
It's not. So great point. Because Uber Collector and his Just Collect auctions, which maybe we'll have on the show at some point in time, they're from Arizona. So everybody with a Kyler Murray card was heading to them because they probably were paying 5% more or giving in trade 5 or 10% more for Kyler Murray cards, because when they head home tonight, well, they're probably already there. The Kyler cards are worth more in their backyard than they are in New York. Same thing. You got to take advantage of what you can take advantage of, right?
So, getting into the data, a little bit of a red week, but if you kind of look at other markets like the stock market, for example, also a red week. So just some numbers for you guys, some figures. Cards are down 3.3% this week. Memorabilia across the board down 2%. Basketball up 1%. Football down 2%. Golf was the biggest loser at down 11%. And my favorite sport, tennis, up 13%. Soccer lost 5%, interestingly, and wrestling down 6.5%.
Tennis was down 13, I think. Tennis, you are the weakest.
Tennis was down. You are right.
You know what it is? Just top of line on this, right? So we have basketball in the playoffs. We have hockey heating up, and we have baseball. Starting to people on the Franco, you name it. I think that everybody's focusing their money now, their attention on that basketball playoff run. They're moving towards that. They're trying to put their stuff into there. And I think that they are where they can get liquidity from those fringes. So I've talked about the fringe stuff as like, hey, if the overall market goes down, that's the first place people will get their liquidity. A layer below that, the market in itself is not going down. But when we have these cycles, right, where right now where we are with basketball playoffs heating up, it doesn't surprise me that the losers, I don't want to call them losers, but the sectors that are down are those what I would call more fringe sectors. Your tennis, your golf, your wrestling, even soccer, boxing, that kind of stuff. So it doesn't surprise me. I think you're right. Overall, all markets were kind of down, but basketball was up slightly. Hockey up slightly. I mean, basically flat, like 1% each. So, but yeah.
I would guess that basketball would have a little bit more volume too, like you said, right? Yeah. Like people are kind of playing around. Put it like this last week, for example, one of the biggest losers. I don't think it's on here, but it was down 11%. Was the blue color Luka Prism, down 11%. Luka, given that he's been a little bit banged up this year, but this is a card that you might want to take a look at, especially if the Mavs go up 3-1 or 3-2. I apologize.
Yep.
Then it gets really, really interesting. I don't know.
Listen, you bring up a great point, which is as the playoffs happen and as there are results, the cards will be impacted. Take a look at, for example, the Kevin Durant Chrome Refractor, PSA 10. But last week, that was not down. Because last week, they were not down 3-0. That card, even though basketball as a segment, as a sector may start to heat up, there may be more volume. That card, if the Nets get swept here, or even if they don't, now they're down 3-0, people don't expect them to come back and win. That card has been basically flat, even up a tick recently. But that does not take into account the fact that they might get a first-round exit when, as recently as a couple weeks ago, they were still thought of as a favorite to get out of the East. So that's a card I'd look at. The same way you're wondering about what's going to happen with Luka. If they go up 3-2, down 3-2, he comes back, he plays, he advances to the next round. This one to the downside.
There
You
was a
know?
sale cage on the 21st for 15.6 too, and
Yep.
this card is trading at 25,000. I have it pulled up
Yep.
here. Another thing that kind of goes against this card is it's basically double from its IPO. So people who bought into this card from the get, they're already sitting on profit, so they're not like, what am I going to risk this for? Okay, maybe I don't get 100% return, I get 90 or 80 or 70. I'm interested to see when markets open up how quickly people respond.
Yep. Another one, although they staved off elimination, the Joker card that's on there, which we don't, we've talked about a couple of times, but you don't love it because it's not like the kind of card anybody would invest in. It's, you don't think it's the prettiest of Jokic autos.
No, it's a weird card.
Yeah, it's an odd one, right? They actually called him Djokovic today in the broadcast.
Joker.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? I don't know who you were doing an episode with, but you were talking about how in the 90s die cut was all the jazz, right?
Yeah.
And today, like if you look at the Giannis Prism from 2013, people actually don't want the die cut.
That's right.
And it's right. I never understand how that kind of stuff moves. Like that's,
I mean, it's preference, or it's people listen to what people listen to. You know what I mean? They're being told what is cool and what is hot, and there's usually a narrative. But I'm telling you, the die cut. So it's funny. I have an A-Rod 94 SP, and I was at the show last night. I was talking to somebody my age, and they were like, "Oh, I wish it was the die cut," because at the time, that card has a die cut version where the top is cut to look like a stadium. And the die cuts were rarer because they were like gold cards. They were like one in a pack. You got the die cut. So in the old Beckett magazine, the die cut was a parallel that they said your base card was this, die cut was 1.5 to 2 times the price. So if you had the die cut Marshall Faulk in 94 SP, that was the desirable card. If you had the A-Rod, it was the one that was worth more. I don't consider that like the rookie, you know what I mean? Although I guess I could be wrong, right? I mean, people like refractors, people like X-Fractors. It's kind of the same type of thing. I like just the regular card on those. But yeah, people are like, yeah, I want the die cut. Wouldn't you rather have the die cut?
Interesting how it changes. So I'll tell you the top 3 gainers. You tell me if any of them are interesting to you.
Sure.
So,
by the way, that Joker card that was there, you that hasn't gone down. You would expect that also in the same bucket as Durant. We'll see what happens when trading opens on that card. He's likely to win the MVP, right? I mean, that's getting announced soon. But he's down 3-1 to Golden State, and Golden State looks like, they let this one get away, but they could have won it at the end also. So one of those things, right, to watch.
I gotta tell you, man, I love Draymond's quote on not everyone's cut out to be successful in the playoffs. And it really opens your eyes if you kind of start really digging.
You're talking about playoffs?
Truly a winner. Like Durant, I know there was a lot of hype around Durant, but if you kind of peel back the curtain and you're like, do some analysis, the guy's been with a stacked team his entire career. So how good really is he? And then you have Jokic, and you're like, this guy's 27 years old, 28. What is it going to take for him to really even have some success in the playoffs, right? Is it really Jamal Murray? Because if he could get shut down by Draymond. So I don't know. And when you ask those questions, I'm curious how the asset prices respond.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, and this is the fun thing, right? As the playoffs progress, we'll see what the story is. We talked earlier in the year about how Tatum could show up in the playoffs and his cards could, and then a week after, the card was taken off the platform, and whoever took this card off the platform is probably very happy right now.
I still think Tatum is completely overlooked. What's surprising to me, I mean, the only thing that I would take a look at, guys, is the National Treasures collection. It's 3 sealed cases from 2017, 18, 19, 19, 20. So not really a play on Tatum, but sort of kind of like a derivative play.
So I cut you off. Go ahead and do the gainers and the losers for the week.
Sure. Babe Ruth, the Babe Bows Out card, the iconic, the Pulitzer Prize winning Type 1 photo. That was up 60% this week. I think it was the first week since IPO, right?
First week of trading, yep.
First week of trading since and I got to tell you, the more of these Type 1 photos get talked about. This one is one of those that's always, always, always in conversation. And that's really what you want with these, right? When a new subset industry is booming,
Yep.
if this is the bellwether, this is the one that's always on someone's mind, like the Mantle 52 tops. This, I don't think this is ever a bad investment. I don't know that it's hard to truly know the market value, but that's my take. Then Joe Montana, 81 tops, PSA 10. There's one that sold a PWCCE designation with 115,000 over the weekend. That one was up 42%. And Clemente, and I have a take on this. I think with Jackie Robinson cards going up like crazy, I think Clemente is going to follow. His tops 1956 tops basket PSA 2 PSA 9s was up to 40% this week.
And guys, we'll probably talk about this also throughout the show on some other comps, right? But there is a Robert Edwards auction ending tonight. By the time you guys listen to this, it might be an extended bidding. It might have already ended. There are a lot of cards that end in there. The Montana, there was a Montana PSA 10 in that auction that's currently at. I mean, we'll have to add the 20% to it. It's about $63,000 right now, so it's not at the 114. It's almost useless for me to tell you what this is because there will be more bidding on it. That card's not going to end to $63,000. But I tell you it because you can look when you listen to this Monday morning before the opening bell. You can look back at the Robert Edward auctions and see what that Montana sold for. There are a lot, and I can kind of go through with you guys if you like. What
I'll give you my take on that. This one,
please.
I've watched a little bit, and I've seen this pattern play out. So when an asset like this, iconic, prized in the top grade, the card, if you remember this, it touched this 100K mark a few, like 6-7 months ago, right?
Yeah, just touched it. Yep.
Just touched it. Then it came back down because you see supply. Here's this other opportunity for it to kind of reach all-time highs, which it just did. And you're going to see more supply, but you actually see more buyers. So I kind of expect it to get to this 114-ish, 125, 105 mark, depending on the copy, and hover over there before its next move. Because this is twice it's gone after its all-time high.
I mean, listen, makes total sense. One thing to keep an eye on, guys, and Andrew, you can kind of chime in on this because you are, for lack of a better way of saying it, for our podcast, you are the alt expert. I have not. I mean, I'm on the site. You and I talk about it. We've had Lior on the show. We've had AG on the show, but you've actually been in their auctions. Their auctions as comps usually come in lower. So I'm going to give one comp now, and then we could talk about the card, talk about the asset on the platform, but then maybe you can give your commentary about why you think that might be. They had liquid auctions end on 4/21, and the 1980 top scoring leaders, Larry Bird, Julius Erving, Magic Johnson, PSA 8, which we have on Collectable, a basket of them, so two of them, at $22,000. The current trading price will be $11,000 per card for PSA 8. This PSA 8 sold on April 21st, so a couple days ago, for $4,477 on alt. So under $5,000, which is less than 50% of the price. And we got two of them in the basket. It's a low sales price. But it's alt. And, I'd just be curious what your thoughts are on alt as a comp. Remember, guys, only one sale. It's only one card. Those cards, especially, very condition sensitive.
Well, that one, I mean, there's too many factors there to really have a conclusion from that sale. But I mean, that's wow. That's cheap. I think that's a buy. I think I would want that card for $4,000. Doesn't matter where it's selling, and it really doesn't matter the condition, knowing that's a PSA 8. That being said, it's the anchor effect, right? The 10 is sought after because it's so freaking difficult to get the 10. Fine, I missed out on the 10. Maybe I get a 9. But really, there's not
the 9. By the way, there's over 600 9s. This is one of those weird ones where, there's not that many 10s, but there actually are a lot of 9s.
I'm not going for 8s, not as a true investor. If it's a collector item. And I think that's what you saw here. Like the run up on these cards was a little bit more FOMO than fundamentals. And the true market price of what a PSA 8 is, what a kind of a collector's copy, right? I love this card. I don't want to. I want it a high grade, but I don't want to, spend an arm and a leg. 4K seems right. So, I would say 4 to 8K is kind of the range. I think this fell on the bottom of that range.
Yeah, and you told me a little something about what makes alt different, right? About you can't just bid,
You
right?
have
You
to
have
load
to
your
actually.
money in, and there's no extended bidding either. So it's kind of a snipe, right? It is sniping.
So somebody has to have 5 or 10 or whatever $1,000 already
Yeah.
in there to be able to bid for these things, right? So it's not like any other auction where okay, you bid and then you figure out within the next 2 weeks or so how you pay for it. Your money's got to be there on their platform waiting to bid. So it's a little different. It's a
Yeah,
little
and I
different
think
than
that the demo that buys on alt is a little bit more skews younger, a little bit more short-term flippers, investors, where a PSA 8 of this copy, again, to me seems more of like a collector's buy than anything else.
So we talked about the Babe Ruth Type 1, which is amazing, just a gorgeous asset. That just went IPO, so a little bit of housekeeping just to make sure everyone's aware of this, because it is a big update, because it allows you to start trading these things sooner, because we're going to go through the IPOs. Andrew will go through the IPOs filled, what's not filled. But as of now, assets will now be locked up for only 1 month between the IPO filing and it hitting the market live trading. That's a change, right? So, if you see something that's an IPO now, it'll actually open for trading a month from now, which is, usually, previously they were locked up significantly longer than that. That's a cool change Collectible is making. It allows these things to come on and, provide liquidity on these items a little bit sooner. We talked about alt. The REA auction tonight has a lot of potential comps, potential sales. A couple to look at. There's a Leaf Jackie Robinson also in PSA 3.5. The one on Collectible is an Eye Appeal E for PWCC. It's a significantly better copy, but it's just another one to take a look at. What's up?
I'm just thinking. Yeah, my wheels are turning. I'm glad you stopped and you could see
please.
it. I was trying to reverse engineer, figure who is the demo that buys on Robert Edwards, though, right?
I have 11 bids in waiting for extra extended bidding. I got a lot of you've been outbids today emails.
You think that someone who's been in the hobby 5-10 years knows and probably has an account on Robert Edwards?
Yes, probably, but people who have been here a year might not.
Right.
You know what? So what's funny is tonight baseball royalty will end. There's a Honus in tonight's auction. There's a Honus Wagner being sold in tonight's auction. It has no
Robert
edges.
Edwards?
Yeah, it has no edges. Somebody cut the left and the right edge off the card.
Yeah, but people actually don't care. There was the one that's altered that was half eaten by a dog that sold for.
It's nearly $1 million now. The estimates were about $2 million for it, even without the edges. Wow. Yeah, well, there's only a handful, a couple dozen of these cards. There's some really nice cards.
It's kind of not a card anymore, but yeah.
I mean, listen, it's mostly skewed vintage. It's mostly skewed, there's baseball vintage, but there's some, I mean, we can kind of go through some of them on there, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, cool Mickey Mantle cards. There's a lot of cool Maze cards, a lot of, Satchel Paige on there. You know how I like Satchel Paige. Koufax rookies. There's a Nolan Ryan, which, the Milton Bradley is on the Collectible platform. Believe it or not, there is, and so this is a good comp, right? You want to pull up the 1969 Topps basketball set that's on here, which we talked about.
Easy.
Cool set. This is one where it's the one on Collectible is a nicer set. The GPA is just under 9 on this, which means if you average out all of the grades, they come up to 8.995, which means most cards are 9. I think the keys on it, your Chamberlain and your Kareem, your Lou Alcindor are both 8s. What's the market price on this one? Because they have tonight, just for a comp, REA has a full PSA 8 set. So again, the one on Collectible, it's not a direct comp. The one on Collectible is closer to a 9. It's almost a full 9. But this set with time still to bid is already approximately $70,000. I know that's not what the set is here, but it's
178 here.
yeah. So it's one to look at as far as a comp. When that one ends, give you a floor. It's not a completely comparable set because there are some really nice nines. You can look on the site here. There's a 9, a couple of the Busher 9. There's a couple really nice, high-end 9s in the set that's on Collectible. But it's just, it's a comp. It lets you know where you stand on it. Like we said, there's a Joe Montana. There's a, one of my favorites, right? The Tiger Woods Sports Illustrated for Kids perforated card. There's one of those up for auction.
In a 10?
In a BGS Pristine 10.
Wow.
So there's one of those, and look, I'd like to tell you that it's just for old fogies like myself, but you're a Kobe fan. Somebody has a Kobe rookie in here in, just the tops paper, but in BGS 10.
My concern with Kobe, Kobe's going to have some iconic cards. He kind of spanned 3 different eras, which was interesting, right? He caught it. He was in that 90s, finest refractor era, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Then 2000s with Upper Deck and Exquisite and all that. And then Panini.
Yep.
And as a result, man, I don't know what the data says on this, but I just feel like he has, double or triple the amount of cards that LeBron has out there, Jordan has out there. Kobe.
I mean, they all have a lot of cards, but you're right. It falls kind of square in that middle. So direct comps, right? If you wanted to look at, I don't know what it's trading at now, the 2000 Bowman Chrome Tom Brady in BGS 10, that's on Collectible. So the Bowman Chrome Brady, there's one.
I gotta tell you, I think Brady's such a buy. You
stuff
see
has
what
come down, right?
Yes, and you see what he's done. And I think it still will come down a little bit, but I would be watching and maybe putting money aside. He restructured his deal. He does it all the time so he can get talent around him. And
Smart.
I wouldn't be surprised if Gronk comes back. I think Julian Edelman might come back.
You said that a couple times. It'd be interesting to see that. What's the Chrome? Because I know most of his prices are down. The Chrome, I'm trying to think what it is because 6 of his 7 were down. Except the ticket it was up. But so he's got a. Let's see.
This one was down 13% this week. It IPO'd at 30,000. It's at 39.
Yeah, it's at 39,000. So there's one of those tonight
just,
also. BGS 10. It's in the 20s already. We'll see where it actually ends.
The last 2 sales that we're seeing here on Collectible is April 17th, 26,000 on PWCC, and February 24th on eBay, 26,000. Right before that, there was one that sold on Golden for 36.6.
Yep. I mean, so it's right there in the wheelhouse. But yeah, I mean, listen, we had some alt comps. We have the REA comps that are ending, tonight. You talked about the Luka Wilt's high school uniform. After being flat for 5 weeks, was up 33% this week, which is just an interesting thing.
4 straight weeks of declines for the Ty Cobb PSA 10 E98 card, down 5%, down 5%, down 3%, down 6%. So that's interesting. Usually don't see such sustained sell-offs of a vintage card. I'm interested to see what that does. I would expect that to be met with a little bit of buying, but I'm not sure.
And listen, we just talked about it, IPOs that were funded. So now, because of the 1-month window, the Mickey Mantle debut ticket stub, the Rafa Net Pro PSA 10, the triple logo man Duncan Yao Dirk, and the Embiid 50-point game. Those all filled
next week. French Open.
Oh, nice. Well, listen, that dude, he is a beast on clay. But those things that I just mentioned are all going to start trading on May 23rd.
Not next week, next month. I apologize. May 22nd. I thought it was May 2nd. Wow, you got some time then.
I do. I can prep. I'm gonna get my PTO in so I can just stay home and watch tennis. Hey now, lots of things on the in-app early access exclusives. If you don't have the app, get the app because it allows you to Get in there and buy these things before anybody else can. Everything from the 1911 hockey card, Vezina card, or the goalie that we talked about last week, to the Pele, Cal Ripken's game-worn and signed jersey, the lot of 35, 93
I want to
SP
ask you
baseball
about that.
boxes. Shoot.
Is that an iconic box?
It's a
Is
fun
that fun
one
to
to
rip?
open. It's a fun box to open, yes, because people think they're going to find a Jeter, PSA 10, which is, a $500,000 card, right? It's the same reason why why you think about opening, anything else, right? But what do they have that as a market cap? They have 220. You want to do some quick math and tell me 35 into 220? Is that about 6,000, right? About $6 something like that.
Those are awkward numbers. So do quick.
Trying to do quick math. It's about 6,000, I think, per box. I think. No.
Yep,
Yes.
6,285.
All right, so 6,200 guys. I feel like a broken record, but there happens to be one sealed box in the Robert Edwards auction tonight. It's currently sitting at almost $5,000. So you can see what it ends at. Multiply that by 35.
I gotta tell you,
it's a bargain. Go ahead.
So I like to observe, watch the games, all that stuff. I'm not going to get into it. We've talked about it. Watch the games. Watch the game. Yes,
Watch the games.
I don't have as much experience in the card market like Cage or our guests, so I defer to them. But what I do observe is people. And what I've noticed is the amount of content creators or breakers or celebrity breakers or businessmen who partner with celebrities who want to break has gone through the roof. You've seen Ken Golden with the Drake. You've seen P. Ryan with Jerry. You pull wax. You have all of the different breakers on whatnot. What I think is going to happen is they're going to all fight over unopened wax. And cool, we want the modern stuff, great. But there's also vintage stuff like this that draws a big crowd. That's exciting. That's interesting. And I think wax is going to be the best investment over the next 12, 24, leading up to the Fanatics takeover. This iconic wax, I think, is such a bargain. I really do. And if you could hold it unopened, don't get high on your own supply, I think people will start coming for it because it draws such a crowd. This is 35 boxes of 1993 SP. There's not just unlimited supply of that. So I think wax is such a buy, especially wax that fits like this category.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of wax like that on, right? I mean, there's an 86 clear box on Collectable. There's an exquisite box on Collectable. I believe coming up this week, if I'm not mistaken, is a 1980 Topps box, right? Let me just double check that. Yes, you're Wednesday the 27th. Right. Yep. So that's with the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, rookie, in there. So lots of cool sealed wax available. And
there's
how about your National Treasures? How about your National Treasures?
1,000%. And dude, that's three of the best draft classes that we've seen in recent history. So, and as you see those draft classes progress, it is a changing of the tide. Jaylen Brown was no one when they were chasing him. I guess Jalen's not in that, so it's a bad example. But guys who you didn't expect to have huge careers are also in 2017, 2018, 2019. So let's finish with this. So early access schedule. You have the 2017 Flawless NFL Shield Patrick Mahomes coming up. Almost 2 million market cap. And I'm interested to see how that performs because it's still Mahomes, but you're not getting this at the peak love for Mahomes. And, I don't know. Is there FUD? Is there Mahomes FUD going into next season? He lost his best wide receiver. He was a little bit, I don't know. He was making some crazy decisions last year. I'm interested to see how this performs. And then the Fleer Tradition Crystal card. It's the LeBron Wade Melo BGS 9.5. I got to tell you, how I feel about that card.
Yeah, it's missing Darko. I mean, if Milicic was on the card, then forget it. Then that's
he's an apple farmer?
I did not know he was an apple farmer, but now I do. And this is the kind of hard-hitting insight we give on the weekly fractional report brought to you by Collectable before the opening bell. Guys, there are a lot of pieces of data out there. There are a lot of auctions ending. PWCC has an auction ending tonight, their weekly auction as well. Take a look at that. You'll see a lot of comparable cards also ending in there. If nothing else, it gives you a great pulse on the market. We will, come back next week as we always do and be able to report to you on, the results from Robert Edwards and see how that may have impacted the markets here. But do us a favor when you're listening to this, hit pause for a second, and go ahead and check those before the market opens, because the most recent comp on the Montana might not be 114. It might be 130. It might be 90. Who knows what exactly it is? So take a look. Again, it's only one comp. There's only one, there's only one item. It's only one sale, but there are a lot of, comparable items, a lot of comparable sales in the Robert Edwards auction ending. A lot of people aren't watching it.
A little bit of alpha because we love you guys. So we've talked about the swing trading as an option, right? Of making money, top 3 decliners, usually top 3 gainers. A little bit of alpha that we found is buyouts. Right now, there's a huge opportunity to make money, to make profit, to make alpha, as they call it in the NFT space, on buyouts. You saw it with the Tatum National Treasures. You got in on an asset of a guy before he got hot. People wanted it. It was the only one of his on the platform, and it got bought out, and you're sitting pretty, almost 100%. Look for those buyout opportunities. They're abound. I think longer term, they will be with Wax. I think a Babe Ruth type Pulitzer Prize winning photo is another one, but look for those buyout opportunities because they do provide an opportunity for you guys to make some money. Love you, Luca Nation. So thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo Mai. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com. or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.